Alright, what's up gang? I'm Eric Harrison. Welcome to the Deaf Twitch Horror Review. Today on the show we're going to be talking about Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare from 1991. The movie in which Freddy becomes a victim of his own pop culture status.
Welcome to a brand new nightmare.
Great to be back in business.
The Final Nightmare.
It's your mind will go for it.
I won't tell.
This is my favorite.
It's gotta be me and him. We're gonna have to hit him with everything I've got. Cool.
Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. They saved the best for last.
Alright, so Freddy's Dead came out in 1991, was directed by Rachel Talalay, if that's even how you pronounce her damn name. It was also produced and written by Michael DeLuca. Alright, so the plot of this sucker is that sometime in the future, Springwood is basically desolate because Freddy has killed off all the kids. There's only adults left and like one teen that he kicks his ass out of town to go to the next town to go and find Freddy some more victims to bring back. So yeah, this guy's got amnesia. He wanders over to the next town where he gets put in some kind of place. I don't know if it's like a boarding school. It's a place for troubled teens or something, where he's introduced to the next batch of victims and he meets like the psychiatrist woman. It kind of reminds me of Dream Warriors a little bit because, you know, it's like a bunch of misfit kids. They all got their own issues. Each has their own personality traits and whatnot. So basically then they go back to Springwood, I guess to try and trigger his memory, and some of the kids were hiding in the van, so they get taken back to Springwood, and this is where we get kind of introduced to some extra backstory about Freddy Krueger that we never really heard before, we never knew. We find out that he had a wife and a daughter. Alright, so Freddy's Dead came out when I was just a young lad, and naturally as a kid I enjoyed the movie. I look at it now and I just can't believe how geared towards children this movie is. It's basically Looney Tunes on Elm Street. Alright, so there's a lot of reasons why this movie kind of failed, and let me just start the list out. First of all, they break the rules of the Nightmare series in this one. Because, like, the kids get to Springwood, and then Freddy seems to be fucking with reality, making them go in circles, tricks them into going into the Elm Street house. They didn't even know about the house anyway, so why did he have to trick them? But yeah, this is not a dream. This is the real world, and yet Freddy is able to manipulate reality, basically. Or what the filmmaker is telling us is that Freddy's influence over Springwood became so great that he kind of spread out from the dream world and was able to start manipulating the actual town, the reality of the town, Springwood. That's actually a pretty interesting idea, but they don't explain that in the movie, and I really honestly think it was just a matter of people that just wrote it out real quick, probably one draft, and was like, alright, let's shoot this sucker. I really think that they just didn't fucking realize that they fucked up the dream world rules, but that's actually a really interesting idea, and it kind of makes me wish that they had gone that way. Imagine, like, Freddy's influence, he's killed so many kids or gotten into so many dreams that he started to be able to creep out of the dream world, and then kind of like he captures Springwood and turns it into a living nightmare. That's actually a badass idea, and I would have paid to see that movie instead of the one we got. And there are some other reasons why I think this movie kind of didn't work quite as well, is because, as I mentioned earlier, it was directed and written by people that were producers. You got Rachel Talalay, who has been producing quite a few of the Nightmares before this and other movies with John Waters and stuff. You got Michael DeLuca, who was kind of new on the scene, but he had produced a few movies. Like, why didn't they just hire writers and a director? That's their job. These guys are producers. Now, look, I'm not saying you got to be stuck in a box or whatever, but this is their main job, is they produce. They work kind of on the business side of things. Definitely more on the business side and less on the storytelling or the art of it. So you got these people that are now writing and directing this movie who are just thinking of it kind of in a business sense. That's the way I figure it. And so it seems like they wanted to reach the widest audience possible because Freddy at this point had become a pop culture icon. Now, when the first 3 Nightmares came out, especially the first 2, they were aimed at a horror audience. They found the horror audience. That's who those movies were meant for. With part 3 and 4, Then the doors got blown open and Freddy became like this thing, this entity, this fucking big pop culture icon who was no longer just a Nightmare on Elm Street villain. He was like all over lunchboxes and kids' pajamas and stuff like that's inappropriate. You know, he became like a doll, a freaking pinball machine, and just whatever you can think of. It was Freddy Krueger was on it. So now the movies are no longer being directed at a horror audience, and I think that's why this movie was made to be so comical. They dropped the horror and they brought in all this comedy because they wanted to, you know, reach the widest audience possible, not just the horror audience anymore. But I think that's a major mistake. Now, not only are they trying to reach a larger audience with the comedy, and it almost seems like this thing was geared for children. What with like the Looney Tunes sound effects and the, you know, the Looney Tunes sequences. We've got video game nightmares. Even Freddy's freaking using the power glove and shit. Like this whole movie, even though it's a Nightmare on Elm Street and it is rated R, it seemed like it was made like for kids. It's the kids' Nightmare on Elm Street movie, and I don't dig it anymore because I'm not a kid anymore. Yeah, so like I said, this is kind of the movie in which Freddy becomes a victim of his own pop culture status because now he has reached the big time, and it seems like all he is able to now comment on is about other pop culture references. So we've got Freddy referencing The Wizard of Oz.
I'll get you, my pretty, and your little soul, too.
We got Freddy referencing Nintendo, which was big at the time.
Now I'm playing with power.
Bring in Roseanne and Arnold because that show was huge when this movie came out. Why not? Put Alice Cooper in there. People recognized him. So yeah, basically in this movie they switched from horror to comedy. I don't really know why. I guess just to try and reach that wider audience. The only series I can think of that ever did that successfully was The Evil Dead. And I don't know why I like The Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness so much because those just got silly and sillier. But yet with Nightmare on Elm Street, I'm not digging it. I don't want Freddy to become such a fucking clown that he's actually, you know, saying, I'll get you, my pretty. Oh, God, it's like cringe-worthy. But maybe that's just all comes down to the director. Maybe they should have had Sam Raimi direct A Nightmare on Elm Street. That would have been awesome. Imagine that, Freddy's Dead, directed by Sam Raimi. Holy shit, I want to see that movie. Before we wrap this up, sure, is there some positives I can say about it? Yeah, I think I can think of a few. First of all, I like the backstory a little bit. Even though it's shit that they just made up on the spot, it's kind of cool to see Freddy's backstory. I like to see him as the Springwood slasher. I like to see him before the incident where he got burned up and stuff. It's kind of... even the idea that he had a daughter sounds interesting because then that brings up a lot of kind of unsettling notions about, well, was he bad towards his daughter, or was he a good father? Did he, you know, hurt her? It brings up a lot of these deeper things that kind of could have really fleshed out the Freddy character even more. I also really like that they show that he had multiple gloves. All those gloves that they show all look pretty damn cool, and it kind of makes me wish that in each movie he had some kind of modification on his glove, made it some kind of different. So that's cool, you know, we get a little peek into Freddy's backstory, which I always enjoy. In fact, I think that's something they should have focused on more of the movie. Like, if they'd taken the idea that I threw out there earlier about him taking over Springwood and making it a living nightmare, you take that and mix it in with, you get a lot of flashes to backstory and get to know Freddy better. That would have been a way better movie than what we actually wound up with, which was Looney Tunes on Elm Street. Anyway, let's wrap this sucker up. With all that said, I'm going to give it one star. I don't know why I said it like that. But yeah, when I was a kid, I really liked this movie because it was fucking goofy. Now, I just kind of missed the horror of A Nightmare on Elm Street. So we need to bring the darkness back. Luckily, Wes Craven himself, the creator of Freddy Krueger, does just that in the next movie. So I'll catch you guys on the next review. Thanks for watching. I'm out. This is also written and produced by Jesus Christ. No, it wasn't written and produced by Jesus. I just that would be weird, wouldn't it? Written and produced by Jesus Christ, and then it just sucks. It's like, damn, dude, you can perform miracles, but you can't make it fucking decent Nightmare on Elm Street.